Hi, let's look at as far as you're looking at a small network, let's look at host and IOS commands. Of course, like I said, a lot of this is repeat, but just it's good practice. So remember, if you're double checking what your IP address is for your host, you're going to get all the specifics on the Network and Sharing Center. And this gives you one of the outputs. You get the IP address, you get the subnet mask, you get the default gateways, and also you get the IPv6 link local addresses. So it's a good command to make sure you're up to speed on it. You can do the IP config on the DOS command, which gives you just some basic stuff. But then if you're looking at all the configurations that you have available, the IP config /all command. And of course, it tells you a whole lot more. And these are troubleshooting tips that you want to keep in hand. These tools you want to make sure you have at your disposal. Now, if you've got a DHCP that's running and you need to renew or let go of an IP address, there's basically two commands. The IP config /release gets rid of it, reads it back up to the pool, or the IP config /renew command, which then just rebooks you for another time slot period that whatever you set, whether it's a day, a week, a month, whatever you set the time duration for the DHCP. Now, if you're looking for what DNS information is available to you, you can definitely use the IP config /display DNS command to give you more information about all the different URLs that your computer has a history of. Now, if you're on a Linux platform, a little bit different, but again, your connection, you're going to look at, if you look at the GNOME disk, desktop, if you're using Ubuntu, which most of our, I guess the NET125 class uses, so maybe something else. But it shows you network connections. Again, you get the same information. You get told what the Ethernet connection is, what the interface is, what its MAC address is. I mean, even though it's not told you a MAC address, but it at least tells you, hopefully when you see that number, that automatically triggers that. Then you get the IPv4 and IPv6 information. Now, if you're looking at on the command line to get that same type of information, you do the ifconfig command, and it will give you all the same information. I think just keeping up with different operating systems is a good thing. If you're on a Mac OS, you're going to look at network preferences and the advanced tab, and then you're going to go to TCP/IP, and then decide which way you're going. Are you going to do, if you're using DHCP, are you going to renew the release? What are you going to do with it? And you get some options there to play with. Now, if you want to do a command line act, like in the MacBook Air, you got to get logged in as administrator, which then gives you ifconfig information. This looks very similar to the Linux command structure, the same layout. So if you wanted to use the network setup command and ask for a list of all the services, that command's another one available to you. Now you got to remember the ARP command. Now, ARP is executed from all operating systems from the command prompt, and it gives you a list of all devices currently in the cache. Which ones does it know about? So that way at least you know that if it's a static or a dynamic address, what port it's on, the physical address, how it was set up. If you do the -A option, you get the IP address and the MAC address So that way at least you understand what you're connected to. Now, if you're troubleshooting, one of the biggest things you're going to look for is the different show commands. Show running config, interfaces, IP interface, ARP, IP route, which is the routing information, which protocols are using, and the version, which tells you memory, the number of interfaces you have, what licenses you purchased. For practicing both troubleshooting and for the test, I would make sure you go through each one of these commands and make sure that you understand what information is available to you for this, and you're going to need it for the lab. And I'm not going to go through each of the configurations and what's there. I want you to do that, but it basically gives you an option of going through each command. You've done a running config, you've done the show interfaces, which basically does what? It does all the interfaces. Show IP interface brief gives you all the interfaces, but it also gives you just the IP addresses, not everything. Now, if you wanted a specific address, you could also, or interface, you could specify that and not get a full list. The show ARP command, which shows you everything that's up and running. Show IP route is what? This is the data. This is the table that the router is going to use to look up, based on which IP address you want to go to, which interface is it connected to. The show protocols command just pretty much says you, hey, what is up and running? And of course, the show version says give you all the specifics about a particular router switch as far as what software and interfaces and things are concerned. Now, there are a couple of CDP, there's some show commands, which Cisco has a protocol called Cisco Discovery Protocol, CDP, which allows routers and switches to communicate to each other to kind of help share the load, make sure they keep information is up. So if you want to see what your different neighbors are, who's connected to you, you can do show to CDP neighbors, and then it'll show you which devices that is connected to, what's its interface, what platform, what hardware is platform, what interface you're connected to. It's a great command if you're trying to, you've never been on a company's network and want to see everything that's connected to it, is going to each one of the devices and see what they know about. I don't know if I did a lab this time or not that forced you to go to show CDP, which allowed you to, like telnet in or secure shell into a device and then see all of them running show CDP against all the neighbors and kind of build your own little map of everything that's connected to the device you logged into. Of course, you can get the detail of all the information. Just keep in mind, now you can disable CDP globally by using the no CDP command, or to disable on a particular interface, you go to the interface command and then no CDP enable. So it's a little bit different between if you're turning off one interface or everything. So just something to keep in mind. Pay attention to those two commands. The show IP interface brief command, it basically gives you just the highlights of the interfaces. If they're up, they're down, what their IP address is, which are the protocols out. Have you turned it off when it says administratively down? What does that mean? You told it no shut. You turned it off. So it's just a way of letting you know that information. Let's see. I'd go ahead and have you watch that video. And let's see. I think I probably gave you a packet tracer on just double checking the IP addresses and using the show commands just to get comfortable with them. So I'm going to start another video talking about troubleshooting methodologies.